Hi, everybody. I'm Susan McDonald. A lot of you know me as membership chair for the Guild. What you might not know is I'm also the lead for the Guild's IDEA team. IDEA stands for Inclusivity, Diversity, Equity in Action. We know that unfortunately there is discrimination at the Shaw. Often it's subtle, many times it's completely unintentional, but that doesn't make it any less painful for people on the receiving end. Our team was formed at the same time that the Shaw set up the EDI task force, Equity, Diversity, Inclusion. And that task force was set up to examine all the ways the Shaw can be a company that includes everyone. Their report was published last year, and it includes the Guild. It's entitled Building a Better Shaw. I'd like to introduce you to two very important people now. First is Ian Joseph. He's the incoming chairman of the board for the Shaw Festival, and he led the EDI task force. And the second is Khan Buba Dalambe. He's the Shaw's inclusion and wellness facilitator. He was brought on board last year, and that was one of the recommendations from the EDI task force. I will now turn it over to them.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. This task force to which Susan just referred was actually the second one of its kind at the Shaw. I led the first one in 2017. I suppose there was one major difference in that this task force was formed in the cauldron of unrest and disaffection following George Floyd's murder and all of the events that happened in North America and around the world, for that matter. The Shaw and members of the Shaw certainly felt its reverberations, and it was appropriate for us to revisit the recommendations of the initial task force and to really broaden the scope of the whole initiative. As a result, the report to which Susan referred was issued in March of 2021. The report itself contained 10 recommendations. 4 of them up front were critical, I think, and 2 of them have resulted in the fact that Khan and I are both sitting here today. One was the creation of a working committee that was made up of people within the Shaw community. That is the ensemble, people within all aspects of production, the community very importantly, and areas of management as well. So that has been implemented. One of the key recommendations as part of that, the formation of that group, was the hiring of a qualified and I would say sensitive facilitator. And that person turned out to be Khan. Khan was initially a consultant to the task force, played a vital role in the conclusions that we finally drew in the report, and happily accepted the role that was the 4th recommendation of the report. As a result, we now have a committee that is going to be very active in creating all these aspects that build a better Shaw. And I'm examining the concepts of the notions of equity and diversity and inclusion. A lot of people take those aspects for granted, and that is how it should be for everyone. And a lot of the initiatives we've undertaken, a lot of the recommendations we've made, are intended to have the Shaw reach that comfortable level of fairness, inclusion, and a sense of well-being that everyone should have to allow them to be their best. And that is the intention of the overall report. The role the Guild and the community plays in this initiative is vital. The Shaw forms an integral part of the whole community, and the Guild itself is really a highly visible component of the Shaw. And the integration of this effort across the ensemble, the audience, and the community is a vital component to the success of this initiative. So I'm very pleased to be a part of it, but very importantly, the new committee is actually a working committee. The task force was one that was charged with examining the state of affairs, making the best recommendations possible to build a better shore. And now we have a committee that's made up of all of those segments of the shore community that I mentioned earlier. And in as much as I'm still the chair, I'm leaving it to Khan to drive this initiative because he's the person best equipped to do so. And with that, I will hand over to Khan.
Thank you, Ian. As mentioned, my name is Khan Buba. I have a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of professionally what I do in my background. So I've worked just under a decade as a high school guidance counselor. I currently work managing my own private practice as a clinical counselor. I've worked as an EAP counselor. I work as a mental health consultant and an EDI consultant as well. And I also do some content development in terms of workshops and trainings. So the way that I was brought on board with the Shaw was a bit of a year-long courtship or so. So I actually started off in support as part of their EAP counseling network for supporting their employees. And then from there, I was brought along to assist in some of the early work that the Shaw had done relative to EDI and addressing the reactions of the company as a whole with the George Floyd murder and subsequent events. I was then brought on to help facilitate and to be a member of the task force that Ian had just referred to and mentioned. And as one of the recommendations for that came out of that task force and the work was the creation of the role that I currently occupy in the hopes that that was something I would take on. So my official title with the Shaw is Wellness and Inclusion Facilitator. And I think it's important in that in the same way that we want the Shaw and we're working towards making the Shaw a more inclusive environment, it's important to understand that my work is inclusive and does involve everybody. So whether that be for creatives or actors or ensemble, whether that be for the administration, and then the greater Shaw family as well, which includes, amongst others, the Guild and the IDEA or IDEA team that Susan referenced at the beginning. So my work it's going to be a little bit diverse, and what I like about that is it brings a lot of novelty, and it's not very routine or mundane in terms of what my days look like or how I'm supporting the Shaw. Part of my work is, as Ian mentioned, being a member of and helping to lead the newly formed EDI committee to ensure that the Shaw is on top of making the changes needed to reflect their values and the direction in which they want to go. Part of my role as well is facilitating in the development, identifying areas of need and facilitating the development of either workshops or facilitated discussions to help with everybody's understanding and knowledge towards how to make our environment more inclusive and more welcoming and a safe place for all. It also involves providing individuals with the opportunity to be able to discuss any issues, concerns, or problems that they're encountering while at work, but doing so in a confidential and safe manner, given my background and the nature of my role, and being able to both be supported and explore different opportunities of how best they feel they would like to address that, and in a way that speaks to who they are and is authentic to that identity, and also as well just giving them authorship in terms of addressing and taking care of their needs. And then my work is also going to be involved with working with in collaboration and helping supporting the Guild and the IDEA team and their initiatives, whether that's supporting them, their understanding, their large network of volunteers as well, in how to move forward and what are the tools or the resources that they may need in order to, again, reflect and continue the Shaw's efforts for creating a more inclusive and safe environment for everybody who's part of that family. Beyond that, my work right now has really involved just in part getting the EDI committee up and running so that way much necessary work can start, and then also familiarizing myself with the Shaw and its many different entities and departments, just in that I think it's essential think it's essential that I have understanding of the people that I'm here to try and help and support in order to be able to do that appropriately and efficiently as well. And so more to come as the days unfold and we continue on into 2022.
Well, everybody, you've heard from both of them. It's going to be such an exciting season this year on so many levels. And this is one of them. I'm looking forward, and I hope you are, to learning a lot more in the months ahead and to being part of a lot of neat changes and a lot of just looking forward to a lot in the months ahead. Thanks so much.